Monday, December 19th, 2022 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In addition to the agenda, Class C retail alcohol license with the Boulevard LLC. That's new. You have a copy. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now to the consent agenda. I'll ask for a motion and a second. We'll have discussion, and then we'll have a roll call because we have 3 resolutions here. Under the consent agenda, we have minutes of December 5th, 2022, which you have a copy. We need to set the date of January 3rd, 2023. 6 p.m. is the date for the next regular council meeting due to New Year's Day holiday. We have Resolution 2194, a resolution setting salaries for appointed officers and employees of the City of Clear Lake for 2023 fiscal year. We have Resolution 2195, a resolution approving a public purpose policy for the expenditure of funds for city employees, elected officials, and members of boards and commissions. We have Resolution 2196, a resolution amending the meal reimbursement policy for the City of Clear Lake. And we have approval of the bills and claims, of which you have a copy. And we have the following licenses and permits: a tree trimmer's license with Wilson Custom Tree, a renewal, and our new addition here, Class C retail alcohol license with the Boulevard LLC. That's new. Entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gary? Yes. Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and the consent agenda is duly adopted. To the citizens' opportunity to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or concern, please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll move directly to 6A under new business, annual city audit report 2022 fiscal year. Intro, Mr. Creighton Schmidt, Director of Finance and Administrative Service, and we have as well under the review telephonically Ms. Sarah Bonsack of Bonsack and Frommelt. Mr. Schmidt, welcome.
And Council, you should all have a copy of the final audit report for fiscal year 22 in front of you in the blue binder there. In addition, you have the presentation that was provided by Sarah to go through today. State law does require for a certified public accounting firm to make an annual audit of the financial statements of all departments of the city. The city has been using Bonsack and Frommelt now since 2013, and we're contracted to do the same until 2024. They've been a good group to work with since I've been here for the last couple of years. And I also just want to take the time before handing it over to Sarah to thank the staff in City Hall. They all play a huge role in our audit here, and what we do every day over there plays into how the audit score is achieved at the end of the year. In addition, I'd just like to thank them a little extra this year because we did have the addition of the Wellness Center, and some of these things can look easy from the outside, as Scott always says, but there is a lot to it, not just in the operation, but in the accounting for everything that's gone on over there, as far as revenue codes. There's a lot of different taxing that goes into the memberships over there, the programs we put on over there, of course, purchasing all the new equipment and depreciating that in the right way. So a lot that goes on when you enter into something new like the Wellness Center. That's been a great success that we're happy to be a part of. So I will now introduce Sarah to present the audit and review the findings.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks. As Creighton said, you have the financial report in front of you, and I think you probably also handed out the presentation form.
Yes.
Okay, great. And I'm going to speak mainly from the presentation, but I'm happy to address any questions you may have on the bound document as well.
Sounds good.
So with that, the first page of the presentation is audit completed and related results. This year, we were not required to do a single audit. That would mean that the district had expended $750,000 of federal funds, and you were just shy of that. So we were not required to complete that type of audit. However, we did do the financial statement audit. We did issue an unmodified opinion, which is the highest form of opinion that you can receive. The city was required to adopt the new lease standard this year. However, the city does not have any leases, so it did not have a significant effect on the city this year. The second type of audit that we do is the government auditing standards audit. And the purpose of that really is twofold. One is to look at your internal control system and to test it to make sure that it's functioning as it was designed to function. And the second part of that audit is to test your compliance with laws, regulations, grant agreements. We had no findings over neither the internal control system nor any compliance findings. So all in all, a very clean report for the city of Clear Lake tonight. And with that, I was going to just touch the highlights. The next page shows the total revenue. So this is on the accrual basis of accounting, so it's looking at the city as if it was a consolidated entity, if you will. Total receipts for 2022 were $16.6 million compared to 2021, which was $15.7 million. So that's about a $900,000 increase. There's three primary reasons for that increase. One is in the changes in charges for services, which increased about $409,000. About $100,000 of that is due to the new Clear Lake Athletic and Wellness Center, and that's your membership. And then you had ambulance fees increase, and also you had increased revenues for your sewer and solid waste fund this year. The second thing to look at is the grants and contributions, which increased about $537,000, and that's primarily due to your American Recovery funding of about $565,000 this year. And the other item I like to point out is your property tax. Your rate actually stayed the same at 9.7, which it's been for the last several years, but the taxable value within the city increased from $692 million to $721 million, so about a 4% increase for the city. Any questions on revenue?
Council, any questions for Sarah? Not appearing, sir.
Not all. Okay, thank you. If not, I'll talk about expenditures, which are on the next page. Your total expenditures for 2022 were $16.6 million compared to 2021, which were $12.8 million, which is about a $3.7 million increase. But don't be alarmed. Primarily, that's due to the change in the pension expense, which is an actuarial calculation. That accounts for about $2 million of that increase in expenditures on the full accrual basis. And that's primarily sitting in the general government where you have a lot of your employees exist. And that's required to be calculated under the total accrual method. The other item that you'll see increase was culture and rec, and again, that's due to expenses relating to your Clear Lake athletic and wellness project in the current year. And then the last page of the graph is looking at only at your general fund. And the top bar represents your unassigned fund balance, which is about $9.5 million. Your general fund balance only increased by $40,000 this year, but in 2021, the city had about $2.5 million in advances, primarily for the TIP fund. And in the current year, the general fund was reimbursed for those advances for all but $387,000 of those funds, which is now reflected in your unassigned balance, which is a healthy fund balance for the city. And with that, I'm happy to address any questions you might have.
Council, any questions at all for Sarah? Sarah, we appreciate your being with us tonight and giving us this report. We certainly appreciate the time that you spend here with us as you go through this information when you are here as well. So,
Thank you.
once again, good talking with you, good having you, and thank you.
Thanks. We enjoy working with you as well. Thank you.
Now, council, I'll entertain a motion to accept the fiscal year 22 audit report. Motion, please.
Moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve the fiscal year 22 audit report. That's the fiscal year 2022. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Well done, Creighton. Thank you, and your staff there as well. B, Annual City Financial Report. Review, Creighton, Director of Finance Administrative Services.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This report is in yellow here, and it also has a memo on the front that summarizes a few of the changes year over year. The Code of Iowa, Chapter 384.22 requires that cities submit an annual financial report to the Office of the Auditor of the state. The report is due by December 1st of each year. So we had this one published on November 23rd and submitted shortly after, right there, so within that same week. So we had it filed in time before the December 1st deadline, of course, in a timely manner, and just chose to present it tonight alongside the audit. Again, a very good year for the city fiscally. Total revenues on the report you'll see is $17.8 million, and expenditures for the year just over $15 million. You'll also see on the summary page, on the second page there of the yellow, towards the bottom, it lists our GO debt limit, which as of June 30th was $58 million, and the city has only used $4 million of that debt capacity. So we're sitting at right around 7%. Recommended levels would be somewhere between 70 and 80% as far as what you want to stay under. So single digits is very good, as we all know and talk about often, and it's really put us in a good position to do some bigger projects moving forward. If you look at the front memo there, Some of these numbers are what you just heard from Sarah, of course. Some of our revenues that we've exceeded are hotel motel taxes. That one's really recovered well from 2019. So 2019 was a record year, and we're now exceeding that. And of course, we had the new Fairfield open up during the year as well, which helped out. One of the big projects on here that was budgeted as far as expenditures that we didn't use was $900,000 of the Everybody Plays Playground was budgeted in the fiscal year '22. But of course, that project is just now getting underway. So that amount will actually end up in '24. We'll start it this year, and then some will be left over for fiscal year '24. But overall, a very good report, again, for the city, and our fund balance has grown this year.
Council, any questions for Great?
It's getting to be a more complicated situation all the time. Having sat here for 15 years, there's some new players in all of these things, and I'm trying not to be the chicken little running around saying the sky is falling, but I do think that might be the largest percentage of debt service that we've used in those 15 years.
7%.
Would that be about correct, Scott?
I think it probably is.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to try to stay calm with that. But
Stay very calm, because the rate in our savings account and the rate that we're getting on our CDs now
finally
is
kicked in.
much better than what we have on our debt, which is under 1% right now. So
See, there we go.
Chicken
yeah.
Little, if I had the Chicken Little moment, I said we should have borrowed more money last year when it was cheap. That's the only Chicken Little moment.
Yeah, well, anyway, you didn't grow up with Depression-era parents either, so.
Right.
I appreciate the information that you have, added here with the revenues and the expenditures and the explanation thereof. That's very helpful. Any other comments, questions, council? Thank you. Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2197, a resolution approving the fiscal year 2022 city financial report. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve Resolution 2197. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Mike.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Dana.
Yes.
And Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2197 is duly adopted. 6C, 2023 Lake Time Subdivision Urban Revitalization Area Plan Review. Scott Forey, City Administrator. Welcome, Scott.
Does anybody want this on or off? There was a big game yesterday. Lions are in the midst of a big run now. So.
That's something else we've been looking at for 15 years. You have
This is the year.
You have to put mothballs in it during the off-season.
I'm surprised you didn't bring your flag and
Yeah,
stamp
right.
it.
Waiting for the Super Bowl on that one. Playing it up front here. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just refer to some of the items here in the packet. This, of course, as the Mayor indicated, is the Lake Time Residential Subdivision Urban Revitalization Area. Of course, this is in furtherance of the anticipated residential development project going to take place at 2605 South Shore Drive. So if you've had a chance to go out there and take a look, they've mobilized. The contractor has Brian Ridge Construction. He's got a track hoe and some silt fence, a job trailer, and doing some work out there right now. So things are underway as far as the subdivision goes. This particular plan, like a couple of the others, we worked with Planscape Partners here in town on. It's a pretty detailed and lengthy plan and legal and administrative process involved in setting up that urban revitalization plan, so they were very helpful. The first step of the process, of course, is tonight, where the council would consider a resolution, approving a resolution of necessity and setting the date for a public hearing on the proposal. So, Chapter 404 is the enabling legislation, Code of Iowa, that gives the city the authority to adopt this plan and urban revitalization area. Under the terms of the plan, qualifying residential real estate would receive a partial abatement from property taxes on the new value added by the improvements. So in terms of the exemption itself, the exemption is on the first $75,000 of actual value added to the property. So you basically, if you look at the number, you take, let's say it's a $300,000 assessed value. You would then shave off 75,000 of that, then you would apply the rollback, then you would apply the homestead, then you would multiply that by the consolidated tax rate for the county ultimately until you come up with what your taxes would be. So at Saragordo County, Clear Lake, we've got a tax rate of about $29.86 per thousand of taxable valuation. So applying that, generally speaking here, you'd be looking at about an $1,100 to $1,200 exemption on property taxes on the property here, so for a period of 5 years. So about $5,500 to $6,000 over the course of that 5-year period. In terms of just kind of looking through the packet items, the first orange sheet there is a resolution of necessity to establish the date for the public hearing on the proposed urban revitalization plan for the Lake Time residential subdivision. Just to kind of walk through that a little bit, just indicates that a plan has been prepared for the area and that's under consideration by the City Council. The code requires the council to adopt this resolution in compliance with Chapter 404.2 of the code, and also to hold a public hearing on the urban revitalization plan and publish notice in the newspaper. And the date for the hearing on this will be February 6th, and that's prescribed. There's a timeline there that we have to abide by for the code. The next yellow sheet is the copy of the public hearing notice that will be published in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter. That will be published on January 26th, again indicating that copy of the plan is available for public inspection here at the city clerk's office, and that we'll have a public hearing on that on February 6th at 6 p.m. The purple sheet is a adoption schedule. As you can see, we're at the December 19th date where we'll adopt the resolution of necessity and set the date for the public hearing. Then we'll send out on January 6th or maybe January 5th, right in that time frame. We have to do that 30 days prior to the public hearing, advise the affected property owners, of which in this case there is only one. AKK Investments is the only property owner impacted by the urban revitalization plan. So we'll send that out. We also have to send a copy of this to the school district as well as the county board of supervisors. So we'll send all 3 letters out January 5th, January 6th timeframe. Then again, the publication of the notice is just a 4 and 20-day notice, so we're going to publish that on January 26th. And then we'll come back for the February 6th council meeting, hold the public hearing, approve the resolution for the plan adoption, as well as the first reading of the ordinance to establish the urban revitalization district. And then, since that's an ordinance, we'll have 3 readings unless you would waive the second and third reading, but no reason for that. So we would just show the schedule running all 3 readings, approve the second reading at your meeting on February 20th, and the last reading, final reading on March 6th, and then publication of it following that. So the gray sheets in the packet after that, just sample letters that Jennifer will mail to. The first one is the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, second one is to the superintendent of the school district, and the last one is the AKK Investment, the property owner in Webster City. The yellow sheets in the packet are a copy of the urban revitalization plan. Pretty well covered, I think, most of the relevant items that are contained within that plan. I would just point out under criteria for the designation, we're designating this as an area appropriate for public improvements related to housing, residential development or construction of housing, and residential development including single or multifamily housing. So. Time frame in terms of this, similar to what the other urban revitalization plans like we've done for One Vision out at their campus, and Pine Brook subdivision was another one. There isn't an expiration date on this, so there's not a time period, let's say 5 years, where everything would have to be built and people would have to apply for the tax abatement at that time. It's basically runs until the council would repeal it. So giving the developer enough time to get the housing built and people in there and occupied and apply for the exemption. Then again, the exemption, as I mentioned, is just the exemption only applies to single-family residential, multi-residential are eligible, and it's an exemption on the first $75,000 of value added. I should also add that that is qualified by owner-occupied. We talked about that previously. So again, I know there's been some consideration for some rental housing, not short-term, but long-term rental, but that would not qualify. This has to be owner-occupied situation. So. And that's probably about all I've got, unless there's any questions about the plan or the resolution to set the date for the hearing or the timeline or exemption schedule, so.
So this abatement then would, up to 75,000 of assessed valuation is for the twin homes as well as.
Twin homes qualify,
As
yep,
well as the
yep,
singles.
yep, it's owner occupied, yep, so as long as they're owner occupied. Now, if they develop twin homes and they rent them, then they would not.
Would that also be for the initial buyer only?
Oh, but initial buyer only, yep. Yep. Just applies to the initial buyer on the first 5 years, and then that's it.
And I can recall the Pine Brook subdivision was, I think,
Yep.
for me anyway, the first time.
Yep.
And obviously, just look at it, been very, very successful.
Very successful, same with the One Vision campus redevelopment. Jennifer processes those, and I don't know how many you've had, but we've had quite a few out there as well.
Any other comments or questions for Scott, council? Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott. Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2198, a resolution to declare necessity and establish a date of hearing, which shall be February 6 of 2023, on the proposed 2023 Lake Time Urban Revitalization Plan in the city of Clear Lake.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2198. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2198 is duly adopted. 6D, East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction and Bike Lane Extension Project. Project update, review of pay estimate number 6 and change order number 1. Jason Petersburg, Veenstra and Kim. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Work on the East Main Avenue project is wrapped up for the year. All the utility work, grading, street paving, and street lighting, with the exception of one light that they're waiting on parts for, was wrapped up early December. 8th Street to 10th Street was not initially scheduled or required to be paved this year, but they did get that paved this year. Initially, they were looking at April, May of '23, so we're about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of where we plan to be at, going into winter here. Work remaining for the spring is driveways, sidewalks, and sod. Wix estimates sidewalks and drives will be about 4 to 5 weeks, and then the sod work will be another week or up to 2 weeks at most. June 23rd of '23 is the required completion date, but if we have a good spring, I'm hoping we can have it wrapped up before Memorial Day. So there's 2 items in your packets. The first is change order number 1, and then the second is pay estimate number 6. Change order number 1 includes 3 items. Item number 1 is a 12-inch subdrain that was installed in lieu of a 6-inch subdrain with the purpose to serve some future paved parking behind 2 North 8th Street or Lake Life Rentals. This was included in the negotiations for enhancing that corner and the sidewalk improvements there. Item number 2 is for connecting an existing roof drain to the storm sewer. And number 3 is for connecting a sump pump line to the storm sewer on the opposite side of the street rather than on the same side of the street, the subdrain. Both of these lines were found to be connected to an existing drain tile that was deeper than the subdrain that was going in there. And we did abandon that existing drain tile as part of construction. Total cost for the change order number 1 work is $6,744.10, which is less than 0.3% of the total contract amount. Pay estimate 6 in your packets covers work completed up through December 9th, including the remainder of the street paving, street lighting, and curb backfilling. Net amount due to Wix Construction is $276,372.60. This takes the project to 85% complete. B&K does recommend approval of change order number 1 as well as pay estimate number 6 for Wix Construction. Any questions?
Now that the construction season is halted for weather, winter, what's your summary of the construction thus far?
Went good, I thought. The weather cooperated a lot, but the contractors did really want to get to this point this year, so they did push hard on that. So all in all, everything went really good.
That's been the same general contractor all the way through. I mean, from what, 24th to here?
24th all the way to 8th, yep.
Been lucky there. Good luck. Any other comments, questions of Jason before I ask for a motion? Thank you, really. Motion to approve pay estimate number 6 in the amount of $276,372.60. And change order number 1, $6,744.10 with regard to the East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction and Bike Lane Extension Project to Wicks Construction, Decorah, Iowa. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve the pay estimate number 6 and change order number 1 to Wicks. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 6E, Destination Iowa Surf District Creative Placemaking Project. Review of proposal, Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I don't have a whole lot on this. Probably could add on the consent agenda, but I just wanted to identify that this will be kind of one of the first items on the Destination Iowa placemaking grant application surf district project that we'll be bringing forward. This one is a procurement policy ensuring compliance with how we spend the federal grant funds that we'll be receiving on the project, and ensures compliance with 2 CFR 200.318. And essentially, there's just a whole bunch of series of acts, things like the Buy American kind of act, and these kinds of things that we just have to ensure that we're going to comply with. Minority and women-owned businesses, recycled materials, and just kind of how we go about selecting our professional people that we're going to be using on this project for consultants in terms of architectural and engineering. And ultimately how the projects are going to be bid out and where they come at in terms of spending. So ran this past the state for their head nod, and they gave us a favorable approval of the policy, as well as our bond counsel in Des Moines reviewed it. Ultimately, they'll have to give an opinion on spending on, when we issue bonds on this, that we're in compliance with these various federal acts. And since the origin of the funds, of course, are the ARPA funds, that's why many strings and conditions come along with these funds. So it was not an enjoyable practice to put that together, but it was an effort. So I think there'll be a lot more of those things to come forward on this, but this was just kind of the first one in the mix. So every time we have a pay estimate on any of the projects we'll have to sign a statement attesting that we're in compliance with all these various acts. So.
Well, with the Lions doing better, you needed some sort of a new challenge.
For that, we're going to turn the lights back on.
Questions, comments, council?
All right.
Thank you. For entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2199, a resolution establishing a policy for procurement with the federal grant funds.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Dana. Is there any discussion? Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2199 is approved. Destination Iowa Surf District Creative Placemaking Project, the beginning of that one. Chief, report. Questions of Chief Counsel. Public Work Director's report. Mr. Kornberg. Any questions at all? Are you ready for the big storm? We're always ready. I hate to say it, but they're kind of bragging it up already on TV.
Holding all the sleep well these next couple of days.
Yeah. Director of Finance Services report. Creighton?
I only came up because these two didn't. Happy to be done with the audit and a lot of these annual reports, and now we're on to budget season. So Scott and I are going to start meeting with department heads over the next couple of days. So the department heads have put in a great deal of work to get it to this place. So they've been working on it for over a month now, and now they get to come in and present their ideas to Scott and I, and then we'll go from there. But looking forward to that process.
I think a lot of thank yous, really, department heads to start with, and then really your staff there in the office. And, you know, I hear them practically every day, and they work hard to get that good old, help you get that good old positive report that we got tonight on our fiduciary responsibilities. They do very well.
Definitely.
You
Do
do
an
very
excellent
well.
job.
Oh. Well done.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Thanks. Under Mayor's report, we need to set the date for strategic planning and goal-setting session for December 22nd at 10 a.m. right here in this room. And this afternoon, Creighton and Jen and Scott and I met with the folks from Iowa State University that are going to facilitate that process. I think that was a really good session and kind of setting that up for all the department heads and the city council on this coming Thursday. So looking forward to that.
One thing I'd add to that, Mayor, is with the weather, that they
Yeah.
say that might have to be postponed.
We need a motion on this.
Yep.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
By Bennett, seconded by Data, that we approve the date of December 22nd, 10 a.m. for strategic planning and goal setting right here in this room in City Hall. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries. And now I'll ask for an appointment of Chris Fisher, 1912 North 24th Street, to the Board of Adjustment for the term ending December 31st, 2027. You have a copy of his application, I believe, in front of you, and this will complete. We will now have a full Board of Adjustment, which we've been lacking one for a while. So we thank Chris. I do believe you all have a copy of that. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mike, that we approve the appointment of Chris Fisher to the Board of Adjustment. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. City Administrator's report. Scott?
Just going to tell you real quick, we had our consultation meeting on the Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. We'll have, your next meeting is January 3rd, 2023, so we'll have the public hearing on that Urban Renewal Plan Amendment at that meeting. And tomorrow night, we've got the Planning and Zoning review of that plan amendment as well. So just giving you an update on that, but things have gone fine, so anticipate that for the January 3rd meeting.
Questions of Scott? Anything else, council, to come before us tonight?